Welcome to another episode in the MovieBuffs podcast. My name is Tyler, and I have another instant reaction. So if you are new to the podcast and you're wondering what are these instant reaction episodes about, they're spoiler free. So they're more of a wrap up, a breakdown of a show, of a movie, a series, to hopefully give you some insight, something to add to your watch list, and give you some background on it so that you know, okay, does this interest me? Is this something I want to add to my watch list? So in this one, I'm going to be talking about actually jury duty. And this one, I actually wish I did it sooner because I think it's a fantastic show. And I think it's something that once everybody watches even one episode, they're going to be hooked. They're going to want to binge the whole thing. And funny enough, this past weekend, so the weekend prior to when I recorded this, I told one of my buddies, hey, check out Jury Duty on Freevee. We're talking about shows, me and another friend. We're standing in a circle just talking, and I mentioned just try one episode. And if you're not hooked, then let me know. Or maybe suggest something else. But he ended up binging it in one day, every episode. And along those same lines, I actually tweeted something like that out from the MovieBuffs Twitter account, and one of the actors actually commented on it. He did a reply on it saying, thank you for watching. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. But before we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, I'm going to talk about Naboso. If you are a fan of the podcast, you know that I already talk about Naboso products. It's foot care, it's neuro training, it's things that you'd never think of, but really make a difference in your overall health. Now, I actually invest in a lot of the products that they have. I don't just talk about them. I invest in them and I use them on a daily basis. Not only the shoes that I wear when I go out, I have the insoles in, but I also have a standing mat. I also have a balance board, the toe splays, and these really make a difference in my opinion. If you want to be active, if you want to be more active, these are things to add in to help with your recovery, help with your training, and they're not going to be things that you immediately see something in the mirror and be like, oh wow, that foot care item really did the trick for me. They're little small things that you would never think about, but actually do make a big difference with your feet, with your training, and hopefully help you train more frequently. Getting back to now this episode on jury duty, the first thing I'm going to talk about is where it's at. So it's actually on Freevee. And I know that this is actually one of the things that usually stops people because they're like, what's free? I don't have Freevee. And if you have Amazon Prime, it's on Amazon Prime. It's on the app on there if you have an Apple TV or even a Fire Stick. And essentially, it's Amazon's free show series that has commercials. So it has a little bit of commercial action in it, not much. And I mean, they're usually maybe 60 to 90 seconds long. One at the beginning, maybe a few sprinkled in here and there. But it's basically on the Amazon app. So Freevee, and that's Freevee. And once you find it, you'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it. But what's going to be in the rest of this episode I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to give a little premise. So my breakdown of it kind of, and my perspective on it. I'm going to talk about the storyline, what this show kind of reminds me of, cast and crew, and then I'm going to give you a favorite scene where I'm going to beat around the bush with it because I don't want to give anything away, but it just kind of goes along with the rest of this podcast episode. Now, the premise of this show is essentially this individual, the main person in the show, is not a part of the sketch or the, I don't want to call it the trick or the, he's not a part of the story of it, but he essentially doesn't know that they're pulling something on him. And everybody that's part of that's showing up for jury duty, they're all actors. The judge is an actor, lawyers are actors, and everybody that's involved with the security, the sheriffs, everybody is in on it. Now, the individual the main person of it, and the ending really sums everything up. So you might be thinking already like, wow, how does this person not know? And the last episode of it really wraps everything together, and it's probably the best episode. Yeah, and that's saying a lot. Seeing that a lot of this series, you'll find yourself just cracking up, just rolling around, cracking up because it's that ridiculous. And so everybody's in on it. And one of the funny things, a part of it, is that James Marsden, Cyclops, you might know from something else, maybe Enchanted, but he actually plays himself in it. So he plays himself, the actor, but a more ridiculous version of an over-the-top version of himself. I don't think he acts like that. He seems like a very nice guy. And everybody else, though, there's some actor and they have some ridiculous trait about them or characteristic or the personality that they're playing. It's all fictitious. It really plays into the story of it, and they do different things in it that you're just like, oh my, he's gonna figure it out, or oh my goodness, like that's crazy. And this person, he's a simpleton, and he's somebody that he's just good-hearted, and so thinking or helping in certain circumstances, it doesn't take a second thought, like, is this something?
Feeling inspired by hosts Ron and Tyler? This episode of the MovieBuffs podcast is brought to you by the YouTube workout channel Time to Train Fitness. With all things YouTube, it's free. Jump into a bar class, crank out a cycling workout, or pump out a strength session. Everything you need to work out for free at home. Check out the description and subscribe today.
You heard the promo about Time to Train Fitness and you're thinking, how do I get some dumbbells? There's really only two products that I recommend when it comes to at-home fitness, and one of those are the Core Home Fitness Adjustable Dumbbells. If you're already following the YouTube workouts, these are the dumbbells that I use, me, Tyler, and you've probably seen me adjust them between the weights super fast. Along with adjusting quickly, they go from 5 pounds to 50 pounds and feel great in the hands. Head to the link in the description and grab yourself a pair. You have the free workouts on YouTube and will now have the dumbbells to help you reach your fitness goals. The IMDb storyline, so this is straight off of IMDb. It says Ronald Gladden serves jury duty on a civil trial in Los Angeles. To him, there is nothing out of the ordinary in proceedings. Little does he know, however, that all the other participants, his fellow jurors, the judge, the plaintiff, defendant, everybody are actors. The trial isn't real and everything is staged. So one thing to kind of throw on top of that, with it being staged and it being fictitious, is that you might think, okay, he's just going home in between but a piece of it that I think they have it in the first episode, but they basically tell him it's a why they're filming, why there's cameras. I was thinking the same thing, like, oh, there's a camera there. Oh, he's going to see the cameras. And why is he filming these things? But they told him that it's basically a documentary. It's a documentary of how a juror goes together and things like that. And so that kind of handles that question. But there's so many pieces that happen, a part of it, that they're just hilarious. Now, this show kind of reminds me of, I'd say, a little bit of Parks and Rec. Maybe not the first season, or the last season, but I really liked Parks and Rec once got into it. I've never seen The Office, and I know that might be crazy to some, but I've never seen The Office. But I'd guess it's kind of along the same lines with the comedy, the dark comedy, and things of that nature, where I don't want to say it's documentary, mockumentary. I think that's what they might call that term. Or some of the characters are talking to the camera, doing behind the scenes stuff. It has those mixed into it. Like I said, the premise that's not a part of that storyline is that they're quote unquote filming a documentary, and so they come in front of the camera and they build it out that way. Cast and crew with it. The creators are Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupinski. I'm not sure if you know any of them, but threw it in this episode. The cast for this, other than James Marsden, I was trying to think if there's maybe another actor. They're smaller actor. I can't say they're smaller because some of them, they've been in a lot of things. Like the one that I'm going to mention here, Kirk Fox. I just saw him in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He's the mixer. He has tickets to go to a concert. I was trying to remember what concert. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. And I'm sure somebody that's watching or listening to this is going to say, oh, he was going to right there. That's the concert. And I'm just drawing a blank on it. But I feel like it's one of those brothers things, something brothers but anyways, there's a lot of other actors in it that they've been in small pieces in a movie, in a show. And so you might recognize them and you might say, oh, I actually just saw them in this, but they are not well known enough that the person that's not in on it, that they're staging this around, Ronald, that he cannot recognize them. But of course he recognizes James Marsden, and even I think he brings a DVD in one of the pieces, but it's pretty funny. Now, favorite scene here, as we start to get to the end of this episode here, there is a scene where they do soaking. And if you're unfamiliar with soaking, I went on the old internet, typed in soaking to give you a definition. And soaking, also known as marinating or floating, is a sexual practice of inserting the penis into the vagina, but not subsequently thrusting. So right there, you might listen to that and be like, what? Like that's something that's real? And there's a scene where there's two characters. One is kind of reserved, very reserved actually. The other one is not reserved, and they basically they want to hang out together, but the more reserved one doesn't know how to talk to him. And so this is where the main character comes in to help talk to her to talk so that they can basically hang out together. And well, the part where they do the soaking, it's actually James Marsden jumping on the bed to help with the soaking process. And so it's just so ridiculous. It's one of those things where you're like, how did they put this in a show? Because you're like scratching your head, like, where did this come from? No, that they weren't actually doing this, and they show some of this in the behind the scenes. But this scene also, there's some stuff that happens after it with the relationship between two of the characters. That's pretty funny. And I feel like this is one of those circumstances that those examples of how ridiculous, how far can they push the boundary? And this main person, Ronald, cannot figure it out, or he doesn't know that this is all just made up. So my recommendation, if you probably didn't guess, is watch it. Add it immediately. Watch one episode, come back, tell me what you think, because I can almost guarantee you're going to binge the whole series. I think that this is actually one of the best shows in, if I say a year, I think that might be lowballing it, because it might be more than that. I think it's what Amazon has been waiting for. And don't get me wrong, they do have some good series out there. Sometimes they miss the mark on a lot of them. And this one, I think, is a home run, in my opinion. I did see a headline talking about Jury Duty Season 2, and I think the creator said that the whole premise of it, they don't think it could work again with another cast. But we'll see, because I can almost guarantee that it's getting a lot of buzz. I feel like unless you hear from word of mouth at the moment, you don't. I think actually I did see an ad for it on. I have a Fire Stick in my office, and I feel like I did see an ad there, but you don't see it too frequently around. You don't see many ads, but add it to your watch list. Again, come back, let me know what you think. Hopefully after you've binged the whole series, and we'll keep going from there. As always, make sure you do all the podcast things. Like us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Share this episode with a friend that you think might like it, might enjoy it. And as always, thank you for listening.